Before we start topical questions, and as many members will know, we received some very topical news overnight. I am sure all in the Chamber will wish me to record our congratulations to our own Andy Murray after his historic success in the final of the US Open Championships last night. We now move to topical questions. I was expecting one from Bruce Crawford this morning, the constituency MSP for Dunblane, but unfortunately not. I'm sorry, it's Keith Brown. I apologise, I got the constituencies wrong. However, you still didn't put in for a question. Question number 1, Annabel Goldie.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what proposals it has to revive town centres. Cabinet Secretary Nicola Sturgeon.
Presiding Officer, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's feeling the effects of a late night last night, as I certainly am. On the 9th of September, I announced details of the Scottish Government's National Town Centre Review. That review will be very much action-focused. It will be led by an external advisory group made up of experts from organisations like the Association of Town Centre Managers, the Scottish Retail Consortium, Creative Scotland, Scottish Chambers of Commerce, Stirling University and the Federation of Small Businesses. The external advisory group will be chaired by the leading Scottish architect, Malcolm Fraser.
Annabel Goldie.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response. Presiding Officer, in the last Parliament, my party secured the popular Town Centre Regeneration Fund, and I welcome any review which will contribute to sustaining such regeneration. But the Scottish Government is charging ahead with proposals to tax empty property for which there is no market demand, and in doing that it's getting egg all over its face. Will it hold back that legislation until the review group has reported to ensure that what the Minister, Mr Derek Mackay, said in this Parliament in June would happen, does happen? In other words, that rates reform is not implemented in isolation.
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, can I say to Annabel Goldie that the Government welcomed the support of the Scottish Conservative, but it was, of course, this Government that funded the £60 million Town Centre Regeneration Fund in 2009. And I think it is important to say to the Chamber that that kick-started 66 town centre projects right across Scotland, and it created nearly 1,000 jobs. So it was an incredible success, and a success that we want to build on. We are, as the member will be aware, taking action across an additional range of fronts. We're consulting on measures to help communities tackle vacant and unused property in their areas as part of the Community Empowerment and Renewal Bill. But on the specific point that Annabel Goldie raises, and she'll be aware that these matters are still subject to parliamentary scrutiny, Business Rates Empty Property Relief Reform will and is designed to introduce an incentive to bring empty properties back into use. And in many town centres across the country, getting properties back into use would be extremely beneficial in the regeneration of those town centres. And of course, empty property relief will continue to remain more advantageous in Scotland than it is in England and Wales, where I understand her own party is currently in government. So this government will continue to do a whole range of things to support town centres, and I've got no doubt that the work being led by Malcolm Fraser will contribute hugely to that range of initiatives in due course.
Annabel Goldie.
Thank you, and I'm indeed grateful to the Minister for her response, but enticed as I am by her very own argument, does she not accept that the sensible thing would be to let this review group, which I think is commendable in all respects, to report and then to reflect on whether the proposed tax on empty property is actually a meaningful or sensible way forward?
Cabinet Secretary.
I know Annabel Goldie is a committed parliamentarian. The empty property rates relief reform package is subject to due parliamentary scrutiny, and that's the right and proper way to consider any reform. I think the other thing that is worth pointing out to the Chamber, and I'm sure Annabel Goldie would be quick to welcome this, Scotland is the most competitive place to do business in the entire UK. We have a business rates relief package worth over £500 million a year, and of course the small business bonus scheme has removed or reduced business taxes for over 85,000 commercial premises. Now, I speak to small businesses in my own constituency, many of them populating town centres, who tell me how beneficial that support and the other support the Scottish Government is providing is to them. I think we should get behind those businesses, get behind the work on town centre regeneration, and allow Parliament to do its job.
Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Before being elected to this Parliament, I had the privilege of serving on the board of Aberdeen Business Improvement District. Can I ask the Cabinet Secretary if business improvement districts are making a difference in helping to revive town centres?
Cabinet Secretary.
Yeah, I think that, and I know Kevin Stewart's involvement in the Aberdeen district was extremely important. I think he is right to point to the role that that can play, and I think it underlines the importance of making sure that we are empowering people locally while making sure that we have the range of support in place nationally to back up that effort. And I look forward to working with businesses and individuals across the country who really have a focus on economic regeneration and the particular relevance of that in some of our city and town centres.
Question number 2, Alison Johnson.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government how it is ensuring equitable access to music tuition in schools.
Minister Alistair Allen.
Through Curriculum for Excellence, all children and young people are entitled to a broad general education from the early years through to S3, including the music experiences and outcomes outlined in the expressive arts curriculum area. The Scottish Government expects all our children and young people to have access to music at school and to have the opportunity to learn and explore the subject. Under the Education Scotland Act 1980, education authorities have a duty to secure adequate and efficient provision of school education in their areas and to make this available free of charge. This includes music lessons provided as part of that school education. The Scottish Government has written to all local authorities to ascertain the current position on charging for all forms of music tuition. We will work with education authorities to ensure that there is equitable access to music provision and that this is consistent with statute.
Alison Johnson.
I thank the Minister for his answer. It is indeed the case that in schools the Curriculum for Excellence states that performing and creating music will be prominent activities for all learners, and clearly where music lessons are charged for or a charge many cannot afford, or where free lessons are only available to those who excel in an aptitude test, there is no access for all. Can the Minister confirm that he agrees that music for fun, for improved self-confidence, self-respect and for the many proven benefits it gives to child's learning across other areas is important and should be available to all pupils from local authorities for free?
Minister.
I will warmly agree with the statement that the member has made that music is there for fun and also to develop the whole learning experience and whole self-confidence of the young person concerned. It's important to draw a slight distinction between music teaching as part of school education and music tuition on top of that. But nonetheless, since July, the Government has been in touch with local authorities about this matter, or begun a process of doing so, as we are aware that there should be more of a level playing field than there is, and we're aware of the variety that exists in terms of fees provided for tuition over and above the lessons provided within school and the school curriculum.
Alison Johnson.
Thank you, Minister. That is very heartening. It certainly is the case that at the moment there are only handfuls of children in our primary school classes who are accessing music, and I'm heartened to learn that that is something the Government... It is indeed the case. In schools in Edinburgh, there are aptitude tests given to children in P5, and only those who pass the test have the opportunity to go on to learn a musical instrument, and that's something I'd like to see broadened to the entire class. Thank
Minister.
you.
I feel I should again stress here that we are perhaps slightly talking at cross purposes at points in this debate. There is tuition of an instrument out with the normal school curriculum, and there is music within school. And I can't agree with the statement that very few children get music within school. The Curriculum for Excellence puts music at the centre of the school experience. That said, as I say, the Government is very keen to remind local authorities as to what their duties and their limitations are when it comes to making charges for instrumental tuition over and above that.
Rob Gibson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It was reported at the weekend that Highland Council has a revenue of £453,000 from music tuition. Can the Minister seek clarity from the Highland Council regarding the numbers of pupils in Alness and other less well-off communities in my constituency who have given up musical tuition because of the fees, and establish if tutors are evenly distributed across this council area and indeed across other council areas in Scotland?
Minister.
I can certainly say to the member that we will certainly seek information from Highland Council and indeed other councils to ascertain any trends of music uptake and to consider whether these indeed are connected to any charges made for music tuition levied by those authorities. I do note that the charges in Highland were increased in 2010 following a public consultation when it was recognised that this was preferable to reducing the number of instructors. But that said, my point previously made does stand, which is that music should be at the heart of every child's experience in education, and I'm happy to speak to Highland Council to ascertain information about the points he raises.
Mia MacArthur.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Minister will be aware that the Education and Culture Committee heard concerns precisely enunciated by Rob Gibson there about the impact that instrument tuition fees are having on take-up. Orkney Islands Council is one of, I think, 8 who do not charge in this way, and it can be no surprise that Kristen Harvey was the BBC Young Musician of the Year and Broken Strings won a Danny Kyle at last year's Celtic Connections. He'll be aware of the Scotland on Sunday campaign on this issue and proposing perhaps a musical instrument fund. Would he ensure, if that idea is to be taken up, that those councils who are currently not charging will be left at a disadvantage should the disbursement of that fund then take place? Minister.
Well, as I mentioned, this is something the Government has been taking an interest in since July. But it should be said that there are indeed a variety of charges levied throughout the country. In Aberdeen, I believe charges are as high as £340 for music instrumental tuition. And these are issues which the Government will want to look at. I will also, incidentally, be interested in seeing the deliberations of the committee, which has just ended, which I know has taken a great interest in this subject as well.